Sheets and Fingers presents New Word Wednesday. The new word is alterism. Alterism. We have the phenomenon under socialism. It's called secular altruism. Altruism comes from the Bible, and secular altruism comes from defective parenting. So the concept of the Bible, the religious concept of altruism, is you humble yourself. Secular altruism is you humble other people. It's a control mechanism. Me and my buddy ChaptGPT, we came up with altruism. I put in and asked for suggestions on how to combine these two words, secular and altruism, and it came up with altruism, and I thought that was a really good suggestion because Alterists seek to alter the world for their benefit. They alter definitions, they alter reality, the perceptions of reality, so that they're always on top and everybody else is on the bottom. It's also a very religious, it's a fake religion, secular altruism is, and they demand that other people sacrifice on their altar. So altruism, they seek to alter reality, and it sounds like a religious altar, so that's why I like alterism. The thing about Alterists is they think they're better than everybody else. They're never wrong. However, the problems never seem to diminish. All the things that the Alterists claim to care about and militate on behalf of never seem to go away, do they? They never seem to get better. That's because they're charlatans. They're fake. It's all about getting on top of you and stealing your money. That's all this is about. This is a great big giant theft racket. Now, a little bit of a refresher. On the right, we have individualism. The right is the consumer is the producer. That's what individualism means. The consumer is the producer. The only place the right exists in the world today is probably somewhere in Africa, African tribes. It's very decentralized. There's a lot of redundancy, and it's order of families. So as the families begin to merge, you move more and more to the left. It's very rural. There's very high opportunity costs. What that means is if there's an opportunity to do something and you don't do it, it doesn't get done because there's very few of you to do it. So this is the right. Okay, now we're going to look at the left. The left is socialism. Okay, and socialism is the consumer is not the producer. That is the definition of socialism. All these other definitions of socialism are just self-serving concoctions done primarily by the Alterists because it benefits them. You've got to get down to the brass tacks. You have to understand what these words actually mean. The definition of socialism is the consumer is not the producer. I'm not debating this. This is the actual definition of socialism. The other way that they define socialism is essentially state-run capitalism, and it's supposed to be somewhere between fascism and communism. That's a very self-serving definition. They do that because they're trying to sugarcoat socialism to move it more and more to the left, to move it more and more toward communism. Capitalism, this is where we have rationalism and decentralization. Capitalists are rationalists. They don't make emotional appeals like the fascists and the communists do, because as you move more and more to the left of the left, see, this is the right of the left, the center of the left is fascism, the left of the left is communism. As you move more and more to the left, alterism or secular altruism increases. But I'm not going to call it secular altruism anymore. I'm just going to call it altruism. This is a new word I've made up, and this is how I'm going to use it from now on. And the foundation for the left on every one of these concretions of an economy is greed. And the reason why is you have the consumer is not the producer, so now you have a master-slave relationship. You have a dependency relationship. And the way you counter this, and if you prevent the producer from becoming the master and the consumer the slave, is you rely on greed. The greed of the consumer versus the greed of the producer, they clash. And this is what keeps everybody honest. And so this is what capitalism is founded on. It's founded on greed. Then you inject this altruistic bullshit coming in with fascism and communism, where you start appealing to some higher fake God, the greater good, everybody deserves X, safety. These are all the arguments that the secular altruists or the Alterists make, and that's to divide society. They need division, because if you're going to start taking over and if you hear with fascism, you control the means of production, and communism, you own the means of production, people start getting angry because there's only one way of doing something. There's a lot of tension and strife in the society because you're imposing one solution on an entire population, whereas capitalism is highly decentralized and you have lots of options. As you move more and more to the left of the left, the options diminish and people become agitated. So you need division within society, because you only have so many guns to control the populace. You need the population fighting each other. That's the mechanism of control. Now, in the urban environment, which is what happens when you start coalescing more and more people together, when the families come together to form socialism, we have cities start to form. And in an urban environment, you have very low opportunity costs, meaning if something doesn't get done, somewhere down the line, somebody's going to do it. Unlike in individualism, where if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. And the problems start to pile up. So you always have an opportunity under altruism to defer having to do something. There is the desire on the altarist to get the job done without ever having to work. That's it. You have an aversion to work the more you move to the left, because then the altruists start to take over. And it's their mouths that do the working, and they get everybody else, all the other people, to come into and start to be worker ants to get done whatever they think they need to get done. Now, New York City, there's not some big change in New York City. New York City has a fascist economy. The entire West has a fascist economy. We are the center of the left. New York City is far left fascism, more on some dummy who's running to be the mayor of New York. He's only going to be moving from here to here. It's a very little incremental move. He's talking about, some public owned grocery stores. He's not, he might be a full-on communist. He might be a maximum alterist. He may be all the way over here where he wants to go, but this is where he's moving New York. From far left fascism to far right communism. This is a very small incremental change in New York. So all of the dire predictions, and yeah, everything he does is going to suck, but New York already sucks. So he's going to increase the suck a little bit. Don't make dire predictions about this, because it's not that big a move. Now, if you buy the bullshit and you think that New York is capitalist, and then you think it's going to be some giant move from way over here somewhere to way over here. It's not. It's not. That's why those models don't work. Trust me, it's just a very small incremental move. Now, where this ends up, nobody knows really. I mean, it ends up in communism if you don't fight it. And then it ends up in a dead society, and you have to start all over again. Particularly if you have no one to come in to help you out. I mean, if America falls, it's over, because there's no one that's going to come in and save us. But the Fenian socialist, H.G. Wells, he wrote about this. He wrote about the future, the years 800 and 2701, and then he wrote about it in The Time Machine. And ultimately what this altruism gets you is it gets you the Eloi, which are weak, pathetic little bitches, and it's versus the Morlocks. The Morlocks live underground, and they eat the Eloi. And lo and behold, the Time Machine, the inventor of the Time Machine, was a rationalist. So the future is saved by rationalism. And this is probably a Freudian slip by these Fabian socialists to admit this. But we can see already in society the Alterists and their fascist antis and BLM. Those are the Morlocks. So we have these weak, pathetic Alterists at the top of society militating on behalf of people, and they're creating Morlocks. We already see it happening. We already see the breakdown of society. So that's the new word. The new word for Wednesday is alterism. And an alterist is a secular altruist. And that's the poison. Secular altruism or alterism is the poison that destroys societies. So we want to have a socialist society because we get specialization, and we want that to be controlled with greed. Not with greed and secular altruism, because that's always what happens. Greed is the driving motivation. It's a motivational force under socialism because the consumer is not the producer. So you have to have greed against these two parties, the consumer and the producer, in order to regulate and prevent exploitation. Greed is a natural way to prevent exploitation because this is an exploitative relationship if you let it run amok. But then the secular altruists, the Alterists, say no, we need to appeal to a higher fake God like the greater good in order to prevent exploitation. And what happens is they get up on top, everybody's on the bottom, and the bottom gets exploited. All right.